What's up guys, and welcome back. Today on Trent's Garage, we are gonna be doing some fabrication. If you guys remember from one of our previous videos, Mike, my buddy, he has a lot of experience with fabrication and he is gonna be giving me a hand because today we're working on the frame.
So this is the first time Mike is seeing the fabrication so far.
Yeah, that's the one that I plated. Rather banana split status.
How important is it that it's perfect?
It's a rock crawler, it's not that important.
Perfect.
Yeah. That's what, I mean, there's like a lot of comments and that was like my impression too, is that like, I'm not building a Ferrari. Like this isn't gonna be a racetrack car that's going 180 miles an hour. It's gonna maybe go 45 miles an hour. This is like never gonna be driven on the freeway. If you have like a 4-link setup, the frame in the front and the frame in the back, like the only thing that really matters is that like, they're adjusted so it's tracking straight, right? Like the frame itself could be bent. It probably wouldn't make that big of a difference. After it's done, if things are bent and it drives like crap, I'll be like, dang it, should have done this, should have done that, but whatever. Hell, it's shaped like that. Here's where
well, you're only a 1/4 inch off. So part of my thought process this morning is the departure out of this tube. I want to go up with it, and I just was trying to figure out if we're gonna run them parallel, if we're gonna V them together with a cope.
I kind of want to go up and like higher, like so the motor mounts out kind of in the middle of the tube.
This straight into that. Or the dovetail in the front right now.
Straight down, and basically flat the bottom.
So the day is not gonna be completed until we start bending some tube. The more we're gonna say 30.
So we're trying to get all of our planning down and figure out where the motor's gonna go, where the steering system's gonna go, where our frame rails are gonna end up. And the thing that's a little bit disconcerting is the motor is not done. Like I haven't rebuilt the engine fully. I wish I had a fully assembled engine, transmission, and transfer case so that we could at least mock that up in here so we know where it's gonna be to help us build frame rails and help us move steering and things like that. We have a pretty good general idea of where it's gonna end up, but since the motor is in the process of being rebuilt, I can't really use it for mock-up here. So I went ahead and removed this plate that actually blocks the steering shaft here and holds it in one spot. And it's really nice because now we can actually move this steering shaft all the way over here and mount our orbital for our full hydraulic steering system. And it can be very far out of the way without causing any problems or needing to like build any like crazy system with extra U-joints or anything like that. So it's coming along nicely. But that's because I just stitched well with this.
Super sketchy.
And snug as it's gonna get.
Okay.
Without too much squishy.
Perfect.
Squishy, squishy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's really dirty and gross in here. Hopefully we'll be able to clean it up here soon.
For real.
I'm gonna like put different seats in here and kind of gut the interior, and I don't know if I'm gonna build like a custom center console or what I'm gonna do yet, but a lot of things in here are gonna change too. All right, so we've gone ahead and we've installed this 3x3 cross brace. We've got it tacked in to hold our frame rails square and true and together so that nothing moves. Now we're actually gonna start cutting back the ends of this tube to get it exactly how we want it, and we're gonna start bending what's gonna be our frame rails that come off of the front here. Now, this may be strange to some of you guys if you've built a buggy or a dune buggy or a full race car that's like just a roll cage with like skins on top of it. The front end of this thing is not going to be like square or rectangular tubing. It's all going to be round DOM, drawn over mandrel, steel tubing. So it's gonna be very strong by the way that we brace it all together, but instead of seeing a giant frame rail, there's literally just gonna be a 1 3/4 like tubing frame rail coming out of the front of here. The round tubing is gonna give us a lot more clearance for our front axle and for shocks and for links for the suspension and stuff like that than we would have if we did a big piece of rectangular tubing. This truck is gonna be beat and like smashed and destroyed, and like that's just kind of what you do with rock crawlers. So it's not something that's like gonna drive for 100,000 miles. So if something gets bent or tweaked, you can cut that piece out and replace it or do whatever, but I don't know.
You're gonna have it for at least 100,000 miles. You're just gonna continue to repair it.
Yeah, well, 100,000 off-road miles is some serious lifetime of the vehicle, let's just put it that way. It could be a little better, but it'll do. It's all gonna get covered up with welds anyways. Alright, so we're running into a little bit of an issue here. I have 2-inch dies, I have 1.5, I have 1 3/4, I have 1-inch dies for this tube bender so that we can build this entire roll cage and the frame and all the links and everything. And we're starting to assemble it. The die itself is actually the right size. It's this saddle piece right here, this silver piece. See how that conforms to that tubing perfectly?
Mm-hmm.
Now with the 1 3/4-inch tubing, see that gap?
Mm-hmm.
There's a problem there. This has not been machined properly. It's been machined to like 1 5/8 instead of 1 3/4, and they marked it as 1 3/4 and packaged it with that die and shipped it out. So now we've got a problem. All we have is 1 3/4-inch tubing because that's what we're going to use for the frame, and our die doesn't fit. All right, well, we've come to the conclusion that we can't build the tube frame because our tube bender, or the dies for our tube bender, are incorrect. So I'm gonna contact the people I bought this from, get them to send me some replacement dies that will hopefully work, and I guess this is just the way the cookie crumbles. So that today is not a complete waste, we're gonna start removing this stuff off of our crate axle here. We're gonna get the cherry picker over here, yank the axle out of there, put it on some jack stands, start preparing it for the axle truss and our full hydraulic steering. We'll see how far we get on that today. All right, so these axles are special. Ultimate Dana 60s. They're actually made for a Jeep, so I've got to cut a bunch of these brackets off. But they're really, really strong. They have really big U-joints, really beefy axles. They've got electric lockers. The housings are extra beefy. They're high clearance, they're high pinion. Like, everything about these axles are to make them as bulletproof as possible. They've got big brakes, they're full width.
And they're as heavy as possible.
And they weigh as much as the cab weighs right now. So the odds of Mike and I picking this up and removing it from this crate are slim to none without our friend the cherry picker. So what's probably gonna happen is we're gonna pick up one end of this axle and then we're gonna twist the crate out from under it, set that end down, move the cherry picker, pick the other end up, pull the crate out. Hopefully we don't destroy anything.
How many toes do you have?
All of them.
Good.
We're gonna keep it that way too.
Perfect, yeah.
Okay. Can you get off of there?
No.
No? It's gonna... All right, so we got our ultimate Dana 60 front axle here. It is basically ready to be prepped. Now, most people will buy this axle. It's fully built, it's ready to go. You just bolt it into your Jeep, but this isn't a Jeep, and I'm not gonna use this axle in this configuration. What I'm gonna start by doing is cutting off all of these brackets that would attach it to Jeep suspension, and then I'm going to clean all the tubes, weld on all of our accessory parts over here. Then it will actually be ready for us to start putting all of our brackets that are going to mount our suspension. That's all going to be custom mounted suspension that's going to be very different from what the Jeep had.
So why didn't you just buy a Jeep?
A Jeep would be like $20,000 or $30,000 that this like front axle goes on. My wife would not let me do that.
Oh, blame the wife. I see.
Plus, I don't like Jeeps. Just the way it is. It's really funny because like I'm a Mopar guy, and like I really like Ram. But when it comes to Jeep, which is basically owned by Ram, I'm like, I don't know. No. I like Toyota.
You go get a Toyota tattoo with me?
A Toyota tattoo?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe. My first tattoo. Pretty wild.
I want the old school. It's like TEK.
Little
And back in the
tattoo.
80s, it was TOYODA.
Toyota.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So my 82 pickup on the gearbox, it said Toyota.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Why did they change it?
I don't know. Sounds fancier.
Yeah, it does sound fancier.
Immense bracket removal. Now that we've got all these brackets cut off, there's all this like slag left over from the plasma cutter. Mike's actually taken the 7-inch grinder and he's cleaning up what little of the brackets and the slag is left. And then once we get it kind of down to like right here where you can see the axle tube, we're gonna take a flat disc, smooth that out, and then we have a tube grinder so that we can get all the paint and get everything off so that it's a nice, clean, smooth surface to mount our truss on. And then we've got to mount our hydraulic steering skid plate mount bracket. It's a really long name. We've got to get all that stuff mounted on the front axle. And then this axle is going to weigh even more. It's going to be extremely heavy, so that's exciting.
It's like when you smooth out a Hershey's Kiss wrapper. That's exactly what it looks like.
Well, just you wait.
Nice and
It's
shiny.
gonna look like a brand new Wrigley's wrapper when it's done.
All right, so that tool right there that Mike is using is basically a tubing sander. So it's something that attaches onto a grinder and it allows like a big flat piece of sandpaper to just go in revolutions and it just cleans and polishes the tube. So after we got all the brackets and the welds ground off, we hit it with some grinders and got it as smooth as possible. We're doing that to get all of the paint off and get it as smooth and nice as possible so that we'll have some excellent places to be putting welds down. We're not gonna have any contamination. We're gonna be able to have beautiful welds. And then we'll paint it all again after we ground all the paint off. So pretty exciting. And this is like grueling, tedious work. Probably not super exciting to watch, but we're having a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
All right, so we've got the tubes cleaned up. They look absolutely beautiful. They look better than brand new. And the problem that we're running into now is all of these other brackets were actually just brackets that were welded onto tubes when they looked like this at the factory. The issue now is that we have to cut off this bracket. And the reason that this bracket is different from all the other brackets, those brackets were 1/4-inch steel. They were bent into a shape and then welded onto these tubes. This entire differential right here is a cast differential. So they melt steel at a really high temperature, they pour it into a cast, it hardens in this shape, and so all of this is one giant piece. So now we've got to cut through this cast iron, cut all the way through, remove this bushing, and then grind that down enough that our truss will actually fit over that. This may be a huge pain in the butt, but it's really the only way we can do it. So I'm gonna grab the death wheel, as most people call it, and I'm gonna cut this thing off, and hopefully it plays nice. Pretty good. That doesn't look too bad, if you ask me, but I'm new here, so I think that's gonna be okay. I'm gonna pick up the truss right now and try to set it on the axle, and hopefully, I've cut down enough of that bracket that the truss will sit down on there, and if we have to do any more grinding or clearancing, we can just do it on the truss. So basically just right here, I think is the only thing keeping it from like actually sitting down on there. All right, so we've done a lot of grinding and preparation on all of these pieces of the truss, and now we're kind of doing like a final test fit here, hoping all of our pieces go together nicely. We're gonna have easy gaps to weld, and that our top piece is gonna go on.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, dude, it actually works. I was beginning to doubt us, but we're doing a great job. And all of the edges are cleaned up now, so I can probably tack weld this. We can get some legitimate welds going, and we'll have made some real progress today. Hopefully it doesn't end up as banana shaped as my frame rail over there. All right, we should probably open a garage door in here because it's getting a little smoky, but we're burning this thing in. We're getting all of our welds done. I'm alternating from one side of the axle to the other, welding the truss in and burning it in, making sure I'm getting a lot of heat into these welds and trying to make sure I've got really good penetration. It's a task. Some of these welds are really long, but we've got probably about 80% of it done, and hopefully we're gonna be done here shortly, and then we can clean this garage up and call it a day, but I wanna get this truss fully welded in before we do call it a day, so I'm gonna get back to work. Well, we have finished welding for the day. I got the truss completely welded on. All the welds are fully burned in. That truss is 100% permanent. Hopefully it's good. I guess we'll see in the future, but we still have our full hydraulic steering skid and like mount that goes on the front. That will be for another day. We have been working long and hard today. We've made an absolute mess of the shop, so we're gonna have to move this axle out of the way, get everything cleaned up, put all the tools away. We're gonna be calling it a day. So if you guys enjoyed coming along on this episode of Trent's Garage, make sure you show me by giving a big thumbs up on today's video. Don't forget to leave a comment because I want to know what you guys think, and I will see you guys on the next one.